Well, we do a regular catch-up, don't we, on what's happening across the Atlantic, what Mr. Trump do this week. So I thought we'd do another one of those, really, because there's been a lot going on. What with the in-out, check it all about deal with regard to the Chagos Islands.
Yes.
Mr. the State Department on Tuesday said that the U.S. administration were perfectly happy with what what Mr. Starmer had in mind for the Chagos Islands, effectively saying it was up to the British government to make that decision, and they were happy with it. To only find that on Wednesday, Mr. Trump on Truth Social. Do you look at all?
I never look on Truth Social because I think it becomes a bit like a drug. It's a bit like doom scrolling, isn't it?
It is a bit like doom scrolling, but it does. Yeah. You know, if you want a bit of entertainment late in the day, not the greatest of grammar, one has to say, or punctuation for that matter.
Does he do them himself, or does he get someone to do them for him?
That's a good question, isn't it? And I don't think anybody's ever actually answered that. They did have, when they were, what's her name? Carolyn Levitt was talking.
Yeah, the blonde bombshell.
Yeah. She was talking about this particular issue, the Chagos Islands, and she was asked by a reporter from the press pack, given that the State Department had said this and Trump ostensibly had said that on Truth Social, which one was American policy?
Good question.
And she was quite clear that, you know, if Mr. Trump has said this on Truth Social, then policy. That is American policy.
Yeah.
So whether he actually writes it himself, whether he's got one, maybe, you know, it might be he speaks it. It sounds as though it might be language.
I think he speaks it because, you know, I can't see him being nimble-fingered. But he described it as a mistake, didn't he? But then referred to us as America's great ally. So it wasn't a massive rebuke to Starmer, but Starmer must be sitting there thinking, crikey, what's going on here? I must admit, and this is just an aside, because there's that air base. And when somebody said it's called Diego Garcia, I thought he played for Real Madrid. But who calls it an airbase, Diego Garcia?
Well, I think isn't that the area of the Chagos Islands? I think it's called. I don't think they've named it that. I think it's that sort of area. It's like
okay. Anyway, that's an aside, but that's what it's all about, isn't it?
It is, and he made the point actually in this post of saying that. They might use it to bomb Iran, yeah, which immediately supposedly got them thinking. Well, there was a suggestion that that Britain or Diego Garcia or the Chagos Islands would suffer the consequences of that and be attacked by Iranian missiles.
Well, they would be a legitimate target.
Yeah,
but one presumes the airport is protected.
Yeah. So I'm not quite sure what's going to happen there. I mean, Starmer's in a difficult position because obviously opposition parties in this country are now latching onto that again. Although by this time next week, Trump may well have changed his mind again and decided that that he's happy with it. There's these leases involved, aren't there? I don't know whether
100-year.
Yeah, 100-year lease whereby they can, you know, the Americans stay there and use Diego Garcia for however long. I don't know. I'm not sure that really. I mean, an indication of what's going on is the Munich Security Conference, which you hear about that when they sent Marco Rubio.
Yeah, little Marco,
and he was meant to be a lot more conciliatory in terms of his language than Wild Bill Vance, who came across last year and read the Riot Act, didn't he, in terms of what the Americans would do and what they wouldn't do.
He's out of the picture at the moment, isn't he, Mr. Vance?
We haven't heard much from him, have we? No. I know there was some debate, wasn't there, as to who was going to be the heir apparent, as and when and if.
Yeah, it's a bit premature, isn't it?
If he decides to step down. Yeah, it's so I don't know. I don't know what else has been going on in the States.
When are their midterms? When are they?
They're in November.
Okay, so you've still got a bit of a runway for that then.
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you been watching, what's the name of the Governor Newsom from California? He's quite entertaining.
He's great.
He's been picking Trump up and he's been picking Europeans up on the fact that they're they're not prepared to stand up to the plate or get on the plate and criticize Trump. And the interesting thing with the Munich Security Conference was the way it broke down in terms of who's saying what. We've got Carney, who is obviously prepared to stand away from the states and tell them exactly what he thinks of them, and is trying to set up this rival trading bloc from Canada through Europe all the way to Australia,
the middle powers,
Japan, and what have you. Get them all involved. Then there's sort of like a halfway house, I guess. We've got Merz in Germany and Macron in France, who are saying that we need a lot more independence and things have changed and the mould has been broken in terms of NATO and the West. And then you've got Starmer, who's desperately trying to hold on to the North Atlantic Treaty Organization with Europe paying more into it and being more involved in taking care of their own defence. It'd be interesting to see how that all pans out, whether Europeans are prepared to pay more in terms of their own defence, and whether they're going to set up an independent European NATO as such, including Canada and Australia maybe, or whether they're still going to hang on to the Americans and hope that they're going to be there in our defence.
Well, I suppose you're playing the long game with the latter, aren't you? You know, time marches on quickly and it won't be long before the president's term is halfway through. And you have to assume, with the way that politics swings, that the Democrats have a very good chance of winning the next election. If only for some sanity. You look at the events, I know they're quieting down now, but all the events in Minneapolis and things like this, they won't be going unnoticed within the country. Any educated American must have a point of view on what they think their president's up to. The risk is the damage that can be done in the meantime.
That's true.
And you'd say that maybe Putin, if he is going to do anything crazy, will be saying, well, I've got to do it in the next 2.5 years.
And there is talk we were discussing earlier, weren't we, about
we were.
The Baltic states and the threat that they
very
might
much
face
so.
from, testing the water, really, isn't it? That's what they're talking about in terms of...
Well, I still maintain, I still don't understand how their economy can function. And, with the oil prices much lower than they were, whether my long-term theory of the Russian economy could implode based on little more than basic understanding of the size of their economy, the amount of money that's going into their defense budget, and the fact their income's falling, maybe that's more hope value, but maybe at some point he'd see sense. But the bigger point is that, if Putin, as I said, is going to make a move, he'd probably do it in the next 2.5 years.
Yeah, that's frightening, isn't it? Which brings us back to the point, you're with a lot of economists and a lot of analysts who are saying that the Russian economy is teetering on the brink, which brings us back to the question, if that is the case, why would Trump still be putting pressure on Zelensky to settle in terms of relinquishing parts of the Donbass to do so?
It's a good question. There's different ways of looking at it, but perhaps one theory is he desperately wants to have this particular badge on his lapel saying that I resolved the Ukraine-Russia conflict. Maybe that's as big as it is. The conspiracy theorists would say that Mr. Putin has something on President Trump, but
But then if it's not, if it's not, as everybody would suggest, if they settle by relinquishing more land in the Donbass, again, all the analysts seem to be suggesting that will only set it up for a resumption of hostilities.
Yeah.
So his legacy will be blown to pieces if they start to fight.
Yes, and I'm only repeating what I've heard. I haven't analysed it myself, but my understanding is those territories are heavily fortified and a very good line of defence and on high ground. So yes, you'd be giving up a lot of military asset. I guess you've got the very practical thing as to how long can the Ukrainians go on? I know they're incredible fighters and got great resolve as a nation and military force, but how long can an army go on when obviously your resources are diminishing through death and injury?
Yeah. So, that's where we are on Trump at the moment, and I'm sure we'll be coming back to whatever he gets up to in the next few days. You ought to get yourself signed up to Truth Social, Guy.
Do you think so?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. And then...
I'm channeled out, Sean. I'm signed up to too many things.